In today's video, I'm going to be doing an introduction to DJ.Studio, which is the software that I'm currently using to make all of my DJ mixes. Now, it's a program that I've come across fairly recently, and I have to say, it has been an absolute game changer for me in terms of speeding up my workflow and just generally making me more efficient. So if you are a DJ that wants to put out mixes on SoundCloud, Mixcloud, send mixes out to venues, etc., or even if you want to make mashups for your sets, test out transitions and all of that good stuff, then in my opinion, you need to consider this program. Now, if you are a bit of an OG to my channel, you will probably know that I used to use Ableton Live to make all of my DJ mixes. In fact, one of my most popular videos on this channel is exactly that, how to make a DJ mix in Ableton Live. Now, I love Ableton. I think it's a brilliant piece of software for DJs and producers alike. But of course, technology is moving at a rapid pace, and advancements in technology are enabling us to work a lot more efficiently, working smarter and not harder. And this software, DJ.Studio, is a prime example of that. Now, DJ.Studio are not paying me to say anything in this video, okay? They are not sponsoring this video in any way. All the thoughts are my own. However, when I saw how good this bit of software was, and by the way, I am paying for it out of my own money, okay? I did actually reach out to them and say, look, is there any way I can get some kind of a discount code for my viewers? And they have kindly obliged. So if you like what you see in this demonstration and you think this is something that you could use for your own DJ sets, for your own DJ mixes, I've got a link in the description down below. And if you use my code Karl Thomas at checkout, then you will get a nice discount on the package, which was very kind of them. But as I say, they're not sponsoring this video, so no pressure. Anyways, let's get into the demonstration. Okay, so welcome along to DJ.Studio. This is the screen that you will be greeted with when you first open the application. Now, if you have seen any of my tutorials before, when I've sort of talked through different controller functionality, you will know that I like to do things in bite-sized chunks. I don't like making really long videos, and that will certainly be the aim here. In today's video, I'm going to show you the basics, so importing tracks into this software and also how to create your first DJ mix in here. It's going to be a very basic DJ mix. We will touch upon some of the creative functionality, but I don't want this video to be really long. So if it gets enough traction, enough interest, then I will record some future videos showing you some of the really cool functionality that this software has. And I'll be honest, it is really cool. You can use it to make mashups. It's got really good stems. And the best thing of all, it integrates with all of the DJ software as well. So as I mentioned, you will be greeted with this menu to create your first mix. You can open a demo mix and play around with that if you're not quite confident to bring in your own tracks first and foremost. But ultimately, you can bring in tracks from a variety of different places. You can bring in local files, so that is your own tracks. If you have a YouTube account, of course, you can import YouTube for video mixing, and that is also a really cool feature of this. If you're playing at a house party and you want the music videos playing, say, in the background on a TV, you can do this on this platform. If you've got streaming accounts with Beatport, also BeatSource, you can also use that to create mixes with. So that is really how flexible this piece of software can be. Let's just come out of that for the moment, because I'm going to show you in the settings, just in the bottom left here. If we click on the second to bottom left menu item here, library, you can see here the different DJ software that this integrates with. So Engine, if you're a Denon user. Mixed in Key, this has Mixed in Key built in, so it analyzes all of your key information, which is brilliant. Rekordbox, Serato, Traktor, Virtual DJ, which just means that, it speeds up your workflow. You don't need to have a folder of tracks on your desktop that you need to add loads of tracks to in order to import this in. So everything is just already in your playlists, ready to go. So let's create our first mix. So we're going to click on this tile in the top corner here. Oh, also there's a load of tutorials underneath as well. So if you do get stuck, they're all ready to go in the app. But hopefully you find this tutorial useful as well. Okay, so we're going to make our first mix. And we're going to use local files because I'm going to be using Rekordbox. Here we go. So we've got my Rekordbox here. And I have made, this is all my playlists down here. But for the purposes of today, I've actually made a bit of a playlist just to make this mix. And I've got a bit of a random assortment of tracks here. You've got the date, the genre, and also the key information, and of course the length of the track. Now, if you're making a really, really long mix, you've also got the options here to make the list a lot more compact, or if you like your album artwork, you can also extend out, so different views there. If you did want to import tracks from Beatport and BeatSource, you can use the menu items, the menu along the top here. But let's go back to my Rekordbox and my 10 tracks that I'm going to use to make this mix, which is very random. So we're just going to add these tracks into the mix using the plus icon in the top right here. So they are all highlighted and ready to go. And we're going to add 10 tracks into the mix. It's just analyzing a couple using the built-in mixed-in key as it integrates. So it's analyzing the songs there. I have already added a few of these tracks into the software when I was playing around. So now that the tracks have all been analyzed, it's now time to auto mix the playlist. And auto mixing is where it uses the AI and the really complex algorithm built in to effectively speed up your workflow. If you want a little bit more control over how your playlist is auto mixed, you can click here on playlist ordering. So what we have here is a different variation depending on what you want to prioritize. So I leave this in the middle personally, and that is a blend between BPM and key. If you were to slide this all the way to the right, it really prioritizes on harmonic mixing and mixing in key, no matter what the BPMs of the tracks are. And similarly, if you slide right over to the left, it just doesn't really focus on key. It really kind of hones in on the BPM, so there's not much variations in BPM with the mix. Okay, with regards to tracks, if you want to end and start the mix with specific tracks that you see fit, then you can lock the first and last track. However, I don't do this. I want the algorithm to do the work for me. And then in terms of transitions, we're just going with a standard bass swap, but you can select some different transitions here. Just crossfade is sort of just volume mixing basically. Echo out, low to high and high to low, those are filter transitions, I believe. And then you can also sort of select how long you want the mix to be. So if you want every mix to be a 16 bar transition, then you can do that. But we're just going to select automatic. And that's how we're going to do this. So let's go back to the auto mix and let's click auto mix. So it's now just doing all the combinations, and because it's only 10 tracks, it's calculated that very, very quickly. Let's finish up. And that is basically it. The mix is ready to go. So if I was to zoom out a little bit here, you can see along the timeline along the bottom, we have our transitions, and you can see this yellow line here where it's done the bass swap. We're going to listen to see what this sounds like in a minute. And it's pretty much done that for each of the tracks. Now, just quickly, in the top half, this is the carousel view. So you can see here just the different transitions it has done. I'm going to click on this in a little bit, just to show you a bit more about what you can do with these transitions. But if I click on this top menu here on the playlists, I can view the playlist. And you can see here, this is the order that the algorithm has put my mix in. Okay, this is the auto mix. So you can see it started off with a 12A, then it's gone down to 11A, 10A, 9A, then back up to 10A. We have got a little bit of a sort of a key clash there, just because I don't have anything that's sort of a 9 and an 8. So at the end of the day, there's only 10 tracks here, okay? Then we jump down to 5A, go down to 4A, 3A, and then 2 tracks on 4A. So it's harmonically mixed as best as possible, and you can see the variations in tempo along the bottom of the screen here. So we're starting at 127, jumping up to 130, going back down to 127, slight variation up to 128, and you get the idea. So that is how it's done this in a very, very quick way. That's the order it's put it in. Now, what you can also do, if you really want, you can reorder this. If you don't like what the algorithm has suggested, you think, do you know what, I want that song to go last, we can actually move that, and it's redone the mix for you. It is sort of suggesting there that there is going to be a bit of a key clash. So just to let you know, look, you're making a giant leap in BPM first and foremost, and also 4A to 12A, of course, is a bit of a key clash, because in the Camelot system, you know, it should go up and down in ones. So we're just going to move that back up to the top. But you can reorder this as much as you want. So that's the playlist view. The library view is just going back to your library. So you can add tracks from your library into your current mix. If you think, oh, it's not really long enough, I wanted it to be an hour, or I want it to be 2 hours, you can add even more tracks into the mix using your library, using any of your playlists. And then in terms of the studio, this is whereby we see the timeline in a lot more detail. So what we're going to do now is just jump back to the carousel view and look at these transitions in a bit more detail. So let's look at this first transition and see what the AI has done for us. So we've opened up the first transition. So you can see there, without even manipulating anything, this is a pretty acceptable transition. It's not the most exciting, but it is pretty acceptable. And if it was a case of you're in a really crazy rush, you can literally just import your tracks, make sure your transitions are okay, check them using this carousel view, make sure everything's fine, and then export your mix, and you are done in minutes. If you want to change some of the presets, you can do this very, very quickly in the carousel view as well. So if we go to presets, you can change the transition from a bass swap to a crossfade. And you can see here that the yellow line, which represents the bass swap, you can see here where it cuts in and out, just has that crossfade line. Or you can change it to a high to low frequency transition or low to high frequency transition. You can also change very quickly the length of your transition as well. So an 8-bar transition, 16-bar, 32 bars. So very, very quick and easy to manipulate the transitions. And if you've got a bit more time on your hands, you can do this in a very, very custom way as well. So for example, you can adjust the crossfade, the bass swap, the filter, and all of that kind of stuff. This is a bit more advanced, so I'm probably going to cover this in a lot more detail in another video. Now, in my personal opinion, this carousel view is very, very good for a quick glance of your transitions if you're in a bit of a rush. In my personal opinion, the studio view is probably going to be the most helpful. Now, first and foremost, before we get into how we're going to make these transitions even better and just how quickly it is to do it, what I would say is that everything when you analyze stuff in DJ.Studio is automatically quantized. Okay, so if we look at this transition first and foremost, let's go over here. If I wanted to say, for example, change where the bass swap happens, I can click and drag and it will snap it to the nearest beat, and it will do that for both the outgoing and incoming track, and it will just snap it to the nearest beat. This is very good for electronic music, very good for dance music, because it's quite easy to quantize tracks. But it might be that you're mixing disco, for example, and there might be slight variations in BPM through the track. And this is because the track was originally recorded with real instruments. And if you find that the track isn't mixing, it doesn't sound very smooth when you're mixing, you can simply click on track here and you can manage the current track. And in the bottom corner, you can have a look at the beat grid. Now you can set this manually, you can fix the beat grid, you can do a variable beat grid, and you can even use AI to analyze that beat grid for you. And the AI is one of the sort of the best algorithms that I personally have seen. Now you may have to download a bit of an extension in order to get that AI setting to work. When I first clicked on it, it did open the settings to go in, but just to let you know, that is how you do kind of all your warp markers. But if you wanted to do it go in manually, you can then move all your beats, but it snaps to the beat grid if that's how you work. But for the most part, I use the AI. But to be fair, where I'm mixing dance music, I've never really had to do this. So let's go back to the transition. And I feel like with this first transition, the auto mix has done a pretty good job, in my opinion. But I feel like I feel like the end of this transition is a bit boring. And I actually want the second track to really kind of drop a little bit earlier. So what I'm going to do is move that there, but I want the transition to be a bit longer. So I'm just going to click and drag. And we're also going to move the bass cut a bit. And you can just play around with this. You can have fun with it. In fact, we're going to cut the bass right at the very end. Let's see what that does. So in my opinion, I've just sped up the process a little bit, which is just keeps that momentum going within the mix. And that sounds pretty clean in my opinion. So I think that's pretty good. And then you would literally copy this same workflow across to all of your other transitions. So you can then, if you're happy with the first one, you can then start with the second transition. Now, in my opinion, this one's probably a little bit boring because it's just, as soon as we transition out, it's just gonna, yeah, the track hasn't really, it's still building up. So we want this to maybe drop a bit sooner. Let's extend that out a little bit. Let's have a listen to see if that sounds any better. And we're going to swap the bass midway through, just after that. Let's see what that sounds like.
there we go. That sounds absolutely spot on. And that is pretty much ready to go. So you can just see how quick and easy and how much faster this just makes things in terms of creating a mix. Now, if you notice here, you've got also the phrase information at the bottom of the track. This is imported from Rekordbox. So if you are analyzing that information in Rekordbox, all of that seamlessly comes through, which is really, really useful. So just know that as well. Now, in terms of customizing your transitions a little bit, you can also sort of really manipulate your transitions using this menu at the bottom. So a little bit like in the carousel view, we can have different effects. So if you wanted to do a bit of a scratch in or a vinyl breakout or an echo out, you can also add in lots of different things there. I won't go into too much detail on this today. You can just have a little bit of a play around with it and see what really works for you. But I feel like this is a little bit more of an intermediate kind of level, whereas today is just an entry-level tutorial just showing you the basics of this platform. So we will cover that off in a little bit more detail in another video. Also, very important to note that you can, if for example you are limited on time that you want your mix to fit to. So say for example you've got a few tracks and you want it to be you know, very, very quick, in and out, just to give a demonstration of the style of music that you're playing. If you say wanted to cut 8 bars of your track out, for example, or a portion of your track out, or you don't like the second verse, you simply just click, drag across however many bars, and you just click delete, and you click to undo it, and you can bring it back in. Similarly, if you want to loop as well, you can do that as well. So say, for example, there's a particular element of the track that you really, really like, you can also loop that section. So if you just click there and it's looped it and it's done it, you know, it's just, and you can loop it as many times as you want. So it's just looped it again. So it's very, very easy to manipulate the tracks as well. So now that your first mix is done and dusted, you will be ready to export it to share it with the world. And this could not be easier. You literally click on the export button in the top right corner here, and then you've got a few options. So you can export it as a DJ set, so a playlist in Rekordbox. You can even add hot cues in as well, which is brilliant. You can publish it directly onto Mixcloud. All you need to do is log into your Mixcloud. You can even export it to Ableton Live as a project. So perhaps there's some plugins that you want to add to it, some extra automation, etc., that you can't find in DJ.Studio. Well, that's no problem. You can export it straight into Ableton Live. Or if you just want to export the mix as an MP3 or a WAV, you literally just click onto the audio there. You can use a limiter because, of course, we don't want our audio clipping. I typically leave the auto gain switched on, so that is just the volume across all of the tracks. And then all you need to do is hit the export button, and there we go.
So there we have it, a bit of an introduction into DJ.Studio. As I say, that was a very quick tutorial. I like to do bite-sized tutorials, and really that was focused on the basics and just how easy it is to put together a basic DJ mix using this program. If you did like this video, please do give me a thumbs up. Please leave me a comment down below. Let me know your thoughts, because if this is software that you like and you want me to explore further, then I will make subsequent videos on some of the stems functionality, some of the more advanced features, the more advanced transitions. And if you want to check out DJ.Studio for yourself, of course, do follow the link in the description down below. Use my code at checkout, Karl Thomas, and that will save yourself a bit of money. Until the next time, I will see you then.